Mr. Vought, under your leadership in 2019, OMB illegally withheld $214 million that Congress appropriated to the Department of Defense to provide security assistance to Ukraine. The Government Accountability Office concluded that OMB's actions were a violation of the Impoundment Control Act and that your actions then forced Congress to reappropriate the funds. Just 4 years ago, you told this very committee that under your leadership, OMB would abide by the Impoundment Control Act. However, your past actions and public statements suggest that you may not follow this law in the future. So my question for you, sir, is if you are confirmed as OMB director again, do you commit to follow the law and allow OMB to withhold funding from and not allow OMB to withhold funding from programs that Congress has appropriated?
Senator, thanks for the question. I will always commit to upholding the law. I disagree with the characterization of the General Accounting Office. My time at OMB, we followed the law consistently, and we will continue to do so.
So that you can withhold funds that are appropriated by Congress? You think that's within the law?
Again, Senator, we did not hold inappropriately funds. We were engaged in a policy process with regard to how funding would flow to Ukraine. We released the funding by the end of the fiscal year.
Do you believe the Impoundment Control Act of 1974 is the law of the land that you must follow?
It is the law of the land. As you know, the president has run on that issue. He believes it's unconstitutional. For 200 years, presidents had the ability to spend less than an appropriation if they could do it for less. And we have seen the extent to which this law has contributed to waste, fraud, and abuse. But as it pertains to the parameters of how we would use that, that's something that his team will have to consider when they are confirmed in these roles.
So you know that the Impoundment Control Act has created a process that's been held by courts over and over again. Courts in Train versus City of New York have consistently rejected attempts by presidents to withhold funds unless Congress clearly allows it. In Clinton versus New York also determined that laws which allow the president to unilaterally cancel appropriations are unconstitutional. Correct me if I'm wrong, but is there anywhere in the Constitution that gives the OMB director to determine whether or not a law is unconstitutional?
Again, there are 200 years of practice by the presidents of the United States have used this.
So you're saying these courts are wrong? That's fine if they're wrong, but these are the laws of the land right now.
I'm aware that they are the laws of the land and the caseload that is on the books, and this is something that the administration will consider when they are in these roles, if confirmed.
So you're going to continue to challenge and break the law going forward?
Sir, I'm not going to continue to break the law. I'm giving you my commitment to uphold the laws of this land. This administration.
And these court precedents? You don't care about the court precedents?
No, sir, that's not what I've said. I've said that the president has run on the issue of impoundment and has reminded the country that 200 years of presidents have used this authority, and we'll be developing our approach to this issue and strategy once his administration is in office.
Okay. Well, you know, as a member of the Senate Appropriations Committee that I am on, in addition to this, I've worked very hard with colleagues to negotiate in good faith and reach bipartisan spending agreements. And I'm concerned about your actions and statements about the president going to be able to unilaterally refuse to spend money that Congress has appropriated. I get it, he ran for office, but that doesn't change the Constitution. There are other processes that we have to go through. We don't allow presidents to act outside of the Constitution. I would certainly hope you'd advise the president that he is also bound, that he will take an oath of office here in a few days to uphold the Constitution, and we have to abide by that, not because you just believe something. There is a process to go through. But my question is, how will Congress be able to negotiate in good faith if the president is simply able to disregard the bipartisan laws that are passed through the appropriation process? How do we negotiate with someone who says, I'm just going to do what I want, to the hell with the Constitution?
Again, Senator, I think that's a mischaracterization of the president's viewpoint on this matter, and it is not something in which would impact bipartisan negotiations, notwithstanding anything that he announces with regard to impoundment.
So if the president can refuse to spend appropriations passed by Congress, wouldn't he now just basically have the power to simply pick all the winners and losers who receive government funding? He has all that power.
No, of course not. But again, I'm not going to get into the parameters of the power that it requires a policy process by his incoming team.
Very concerning. Congress has granted the president broad authorities to respond to real emergencies and crises, like pandemics and natural disasters. However, past administrations of both parties have unfortunately abused these authorities, as the chairman and I have noted. In fact, Senator Paul and I have worked together on bipartisan legislation to curb the abuse of presidential emergency powers and reassert proper congressional oversight. And I'm deeply concerned about reporting that indicates that you designed the plan to abuse the National Emergency Act to circumvent laws passed by Congress by moving military construction money to build the border wall. Do you commit, so my question for you, sir, is do you commit to not recommend the use of presidential emergencies to accomplish the president's policy agenda?
Senator, with regard to that instance in our first term, we were specifically using the transfer authority that had been provided in the language of the Department of Defense appropriations to be able to transfer that authority to the Army Corps of Engineers for its use on the border wall. It was specifically a transfer authority that Congress had given the president in the underlying appropriation.
There was you circumvented the laws. I think it's pretty clear. My question is, next question and last question here in remaining time, will you support efforts to rein in presidential authority and ensure that Congress has a rightful say, in the use of emergency powers? Will you support those efforts?
I'm not going to speak on future legislation, but the administration will review anything that comes to their desk, and OMB will have a definite role in reviewing that legislation, as you know, in terms of our enrolled bill process for the president.
So, very simple question. Do you believe Congress has a rightful role in the use of emergency powers?
Again, Congress provided the laws that the president uses to declare emergencies. If Congress wants to make changes to those laws, that's their prerogative to do, and the administration will consider those and have a position if those bills get to his desk.